What if I told you the Las Vegas Raiders just quietly executed the most lethal, roster-altering masterclass of the entire offseason? Forget the flashy headlines and the overhyped rumors, because the real blueprint being built in Sin City right now is terrifying for the rest of the league. They are transforming from a struggling squad into an absolute powerhouse, and almost nobody in the national media is paying attention to how they are actually doing it. If you live and breathe Raiders football and want the raw truth every single week, hit that like button, share this with a fellow fan, and subscribe right now. Have we finally reached the day where the silver and black are building a sustainable juggernaut instead of just slapping band-aids on bullet wounds? Seriously, think about that for a second. For years, we have had to sit back and watch in pure frustration as other franchises made the smart, calculated moves while we were left wondering what the actual long-term plan was. We endured the confusing drafts, the bloated veteran contracts, and the constant rebuilding phases. But this year is completely different. The front office is doing something that we have aggressively begged for over the last decade. They are doing the mature, methodical, and brilliant thing when it comes to free agency and overall roster construction. They are building a foundation so rock solid that you can literally feel the winning culture shifting into place. They are not just mindlessly throwing money at aging veterans who are well past their prime just to make a splash in the headlines. They are actively retaining the core guys who bleed for this team, and more importantly, they are brutally honest about cutting the dead weight. They are letting the players walk who absolutely needed to walk. But where I really started getting out of my seat with sheer excitement is how they strategically handled the back end of free agency. They prioritize something that so many casual fans and struggling franchises completely ignore, and that is special teams. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Special teams? Really? Why are we talking about the punting unit? But let me tell you something as a die-hard football fan. The only people who do not care about special teams are the people who already have an elite special teams unit locking down field position. When you are forced to watch terrible punt coverage week in and week out, or when your kick return unit looks like they are running in quicksand, that is when you violently realize just how critical that phase of the game truly is. Think about the pure, exhausting frustration we felt last year. The absolute agony of watching a glaring lack of athleticism on the coverage units, constantly holding our breath, just waiting for the opposing returner to burst a massive play wide open and flip the field against us. It drained the momentum out of the stadium. It was emotionally exhausting to watch. And the kicker situation. Do not even get me started on the struggles of lacking a reliable leg when the game is on the line. But look at exactly what this front office did to permanently fix it. They aggressively went out and secured guys like Tyler Young and Segan Aliabai. These are not just warm bodies to throw on the kickoff unit to fill a jersey. These are absolute physical freaks. These guys instantly, and I mean immediately, elevate the entire special teams unit. But the genius of these specific signings goes so much deeper than just tackling the punt returner. Tyler Young is an absolute monster of a human being. We are talking about a 6'3", 225-pound physical specimen with blistering sub-4.4 speed. He is an absolute burner. You put him out there as a gunner on the punt team, and he has every single intangible and raw instinct you could ever dream of. He is bigger, he is faster, and he is undeniably stronger than any poor soul trying to block him on the outside. And then you look at Segan Aliabai. He brings that exact same terrifying speed to the defensive side of the ball at the linebacker position. They are built remarkably similar, with Aliabai playing around 235 pounds. He came into the league running a 4.44 at his pro day, and the film does not lie for a single second. The man is a heat-seeking missile and a ridiculously solid, fundamentally sound tackler. Here is the absolutely beautiful part about bringing in young, hyper-athletic guys like this strictly for special teams. They develop. They grow. Aliabai got some highly valuable rotational snaps with the Colts, and as he masters the defensive scheme here, he transforms from a special teams ace into a highly capable depth piece at linebacker. He becomes a guy you actually trust to step onto the field when the defense needs him in a pinch without the entire scheme falling apart. Sometimes, great special teams players naturally evolve into incredible rotational players on offense or defense. That is exactly how championship-caliber rosters are built from the bottom up. Now, as thrilled as I am about the new blood rushing into the building, we desperately need to talk about the flip side of the coin. Because a lot of teams in this league can go out and sign talent, but they completely fail at preventing their own elite talent from walking out the back door. It becomes a total wash. One step forward, one massive step back. It is just a cycle of replacing guys you could not afford to keep. But when you critically look at our off-season losses this year, let's be completely honest with each other right now. Our biggest losses aren't even really losses at all. Question of the day. Looking at the guys we let walk in free agency, from Geno Smith to Dylan Parham, is there a single departing player that you are genuinely devastated about losing, or do you agree it was mostly just clearing out the dead weight? Let me know down in the comments below. ESPN recently published a piece detailing the biggest roster additions and losses for all 32 teams in the league. And they legitimately listed our biggest losses as Geno Smith, Dylan Parham, and Daniel Carlson. Are you kidding me? Is there a single member of this fan base shedding a tear over losing Geno Smith? A quarterback the rest of the league had basically given up on years ago. Absolutely not. And Dylan Parham. Look, I respect the effort he put in while he was here, but let us call it what it is. He was a subpar starting offensive lineman. And when you completely overhaul the interior trenches by bringing in an absolute anchor like Tyler Linderbaum, and you still have Jackson Powers-Johnson ready to dominate his matchups, Parham is not a loss. He is an upgrade opportunity that we brutally capitalized on. And Daniel Carlson. A kicker. A kicker. With the massive salary cap space we operate with, we are not crying over these types of departures. We just are not. Then you look at the rest of the guys that hit the open market and found new homes. Kenny Pickett, who signed over with the Panthers. Stone Forsythe, who took a $2 million deal, perfectly proving to the entire league that he is nothing more than a backup swing tackle. Lonnie Johnson and Darnay Holmes moved on. And then you look at the incredibly long list of guys still sitting out there hoping their phone rings. Alex Kappa, Raheem Mostert, Ian Thomas, Terrell Edmonds, Jamal Adams, Tyler Lockett, Devin White, Zamir White, John Radigan, Alex Bachman, and Q Blue Kelly. Take a long, hard look at that list of names. Stop me if you hear a single player that makes you panic about the future of this team. You cannot, because none of them are make or break players for the long-term vision of this franchise. A few years ago, we might have panicked and overpaid to keep guys like Jamal Adams or Tyler Lockett purely based on name recognition and past glory. But that is the old, losing way of doing business. Look at what those departing players all have in common. They have either hit the proverbial athletic cliff, their on-field production is actively declining, or they just severely lack the explosive, sideline-to-sideline athleticism this new coaching staff is strictly demanding. We are no longer a retirement home for declining veterans. We are building a track team that hits hard. So that is what we supposedly lost. A whole lot of nothing that moves the needle. Now take a deep breath and listen to what we actually gained. We did not just add bodies. We added a terrifying collection of prime, day one starting talent in the National Football League. We brought in Tyler Linderbaum, Kwity Paye, Quay Walker, Nakobe Dean, Jalen Nailor, Eric Stokes. And we locked down Malcolm Kuntz on a brilliant one-year deal that gives the front office massive financial flexibility moving forward. Let us break that massive haul down for a second, because the sheer magnitude of it is staggering. Tyler Linderbaum is a generational talent at center who completely changes the geometry of our offensive line. Adding Kwity Paye gives us a relentless, high-motor edge rusher who is going to make opposing quarterbacks see ghosts. The linebacking core just went from a massive liability to an absolute strength overnight with Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean. Jalen Nailor brings crucial over-the-top speed to stretch the field, and Eric Stokes brings true lockdown potential at corner. Every single one of those guys is a legitimate, high-impact starter. That is 7 elite talents injected directly into the veins of this roster. You factor in adding a starting kicker, and we just added 8 starting caliber players. And what did we effectively lose? Maybe 1 or 2 guys you could loosely argue were starters if you stretch the definition. It is a net positive of at least 6 highly athletic, explosive starters. And we haven't even touched on the incredible depth additions like Connor Hayward and Spencer Burford, who I am definitely going to have to break down in a completely separate video because their impact is going to be massive. This entire roster transformation is a night and day difference from where we were just a few short months ago. Look, I am not going to stand here and blindly guarantee a Super Bowl ring this year. I am not delusional. But what I am passionately telling you is that this is now a legitimate, terrifying NFL football team. This is no longer a 3-win bottom feeder waiting to get blown out before the draft even starts. Even if we started the season tomorrow with Aidan O'Connell taking the snaps, this roster is far too talented not to win 5 or 6 games on pure grit and defensive dominance alone. But we aren't stopping there. We are going to attack the draft. We are going to find our true franchise quarterback. We are going to continue upgrading the trenches and adding explosive weapons on the outside. And when that happens, suddenly you are looking at a deeply talented team that can easily win 9 or 10 games if the ball bounces our way. We are playing a 4th-place schedule, which is an absolute gift from the football gods. And look at the division we play in. I know the Chiefs are always hovering, and the Broncos and Chargers have had their moments of being solid. I understand it is a tough, brutal neighborhood. But let's stop pretending there are unbeatable, immortal teams standing in our way forever. There is blood in the water right now, and there is absolutely room for us to kick the door down and take over. We finally have the elite tier of talent necessary to step onto the field and go blow for blow with absolutely anyone in this division. The only question left is how fast this new, incredibly talented locker room can gel together and become the nightmare I know they can be.